Hey guys, I just got back from my ride on the new Transition Spur. Of all the bikes that have come out this year, I would say this is probably one of the most requested bikes of 2020 on my YouTube channel and on my Instagram for me to go out and, that you guys have requested for me to go out and demo. And it's taken me some time to finally get one, but Chris at Salt Cycles called me and said, hey, I've got a Spur for you finally. Take it out and review it. If this is your first time to the channel, my name's Jason and I do mountain bike reviews. And man, the Spur is a cool one. And man, I get why people are so excited about this bike. First of all, you need to know that I absolutely just love short travel 29ers. I think they're the most versatile bikes. They're the bikes that I can recommend most to people who are out looking for a bike because they do everything so well. It used to be that short travel 29ers were just race bikes. They didn't have very forgiving geometry to go out and do trail riding or even like enduro, like really sketchy trails. And so these bikes are starting to come out now, and this is a cool one. So it's a 76-degree seat tube angle, puts you in a really good climbing position. You're kind of up over the bars. And then a 66-degree head tube angle, which is pretty slack for a 120 millimeter travel 29er, right? So you get this really cool trail, almost enduro geometry on a short travel 29er bike. So what you get in that package is a really sporty, lively feeling bike, and the Transition Spur is all of that and more. If you're local, hit up Chris at Salt Cycles. He can get you a Transition Spur. He's a Transition dealer. He might even have one there right now. It's September 2020, and bikes are kind of hard to find right now. And so, yeah, give him a buzz. I also have a link in the description below the video down to the Spur, and you can read up on more of the information about it, more about the geometry and the specs. I'm on their like kind of $6,000 build right now, which has got RockShox ultimate suspension front and rear, 120 millimeters travel in the rear, 120 mil in the front, and it felt super good. Like, I'm surprised at how good it felt. In fact, I kept telling Tyler on a ride, I'm surprised it climbs well, I'm surprised it descends well. And I don't know why I kept being so surprised, because it's a 120 mil travel bike. It should climb well, you know? My personal bike is an Ibis Ripley, which is kind of similar to this bike, right? And I put that bike so high up on a pedestal because it's such a good bike. And in the year and a half that I've owned it, I have not found a bike that really competes with it on every level. And I'm starting to think that this probably is the bike that's right there with that Ripley. And the reason why is, for $6,000 you get a really good bike, a carbon frame, good group set and good suspension, and it's only 25 pounds, which, you know, weight isn't everything, but if you guys have only been riding 30-pound trail bikes, go throw a leg over my Ripley or this Transition Spur. That extra 5 pounds lighter bike and a little bit faster rolling tires makes a real significant difference. Makes you want to go out and ride longer or ride more often. And it just feels real sporty underneath you when you're riding. You know, before we start talking about more details about the way the bike rides, I just want to reference that this Transition Spur is, in my experience from riding so many different bikes, it's kind of right in the middle between my Ibis Ripley and like a Pivot Trail 429. The Pivot Trail 429 is like a really stiff, really rigid type bike, climbs well, does lots of things well, but and then my Ripley is more, not quite as stiff, it's more forgiving, really a really rewarding bike, really fun to ride. And this is kind of right in the middle. And I've owned both those bikes as well. I had the Pivot Trail 429 a year and a half or 2 years ago. And well, let's talk about climbing real quick. Climbing on the Transition Spur is really easy. It's really effortless. You don't ever feel like you're wallowing in the travel. You feel like you're up high in the travel, and that the wheels are just hauling butt. You know, with every pedal stroke, it just feels like it's propelling itself forward more and more. You're in a really aggressive climbing position, and I would say, you know, compared to my Ripley, the Ripley feels shorter in the top tube, where this bike feels like it has more reach. The whole bike feels a little bit longer. In fact, the front wheel just feels out there a little further on this bike, and it just gives you the confidence or the urge to just pedal, just hammer on the pedals just to really get going. And it's really a stiff bike. It's surprising. I don't know why I keep using the word surprising. It shouldn't be surprising. But this bike climbs probably just as good as my Ibis Ripley. It's shocking to even say that. But man, it's a very rewarding bike to just go pedal on. Once you get to the top of the hill, it's time to descend down. Again, I kept telling Tyler today on my ride how I was surprised that it descended well. But man, as soon as you start pointing this thing downhill, it just wants to boogie, man. It just goes. And for a 120 mil travel bike, it was very, very composed, like surprisingly so. And you know, I would say it probably descends a little better than my Ripley. It feels a little bit more composed. I think it's because the bike is possibly longer. I'd have to go look on the computer and see which wheelbase is actually longer, but this feels longer. And you can kind of feel that on the trail. It just feels more stable. It's talking about descending, it's a more precise bike than it's more like the Pivot Trail 429 when it comes time to descend. Although I think it descends better than the Pivot Trail 429, definitely better. It's very precise though. You point it and it goes right where you're going to point it. It's not flexy at all. It's not overly forgiving or easy to ride. It's like, it's all business. It just wants to go fast, you know? Where on my Ripley, it's just maybe a little bit more casual and a little softer ride, more forgiving possibly. So on that the top section is called Jacob's Ladder. It's a very fast, wide open. You hit speeds over 30 miles per hour. This felt awesome the whole time. You got down the lower sections of the trail, you get into the tighter single track trees, and there's more turns and switchbacks, and you got to slam on the brakes and then get back up to speed. You felt the length of the bike in that section a little bit more. The real pumpy, flowy sections, it pumped well, you know, really well actually. There's just very supportive suspension platform. But I did feel in those tighter turns, it was maybe a little slower there than my Ripley. Part of that could be that this bike has 800 mil bars on it, and when I'm 5'8", 140 pounds, I'm kind of a smaller guy. 800 mil bars can feel a little overwhelming to me a little bit. So I try to choke up on the grip and keep, you know, a little bit on there. But anyway, it might have been the bars a little bit, as I guess what I'm alluding to, in the fact that it wasn't quite as playful as my Ripley. And anyway, I just think, I think this is like all there for people out there looking for a bike right now. The geometry is one thing that really sets these new short travel 29ers apart. So if you're looking at, you know, if you currently have like a 2017 or a 2018 29er short travel, it might not have the geometry that these newer bikes have, which really make it forgiving and easier to ride downhill, and more composed, not so twitchy. But these still climb incredibly well, like surprisingly so. So who is this bike for? That's probably the big question, you know. Who is the Transition Spur for? And I would say it's for those people who only have one bike at a time. You don't ride a lot of lift service or parks, you know, nothing like huge drops and stuff. But you still want a really sporty bike. You know, a bike that you can go and hammer on all day, go ride for 5 or 6 hours, go do 50, 60 miles on. That would be more rewarding on a bike like this than something that would be longer travel, say like the Pivot Switchblade. You know, this actually has pretty similar, almost identical geometry to Pivot Switchblade, which is their 140 and 160 millimeter bike, but they put it, Transition puts it in a short travel, you know, 120 mil travel bike. It's just really efficient, really fast, and really fun to ride. Like, it was awesome. I'm excited to spend even more time on this bike. I'd say it's for the person who maybe used to race a little bit. Maybe you own a Cannondale Scalpel or a Specialized Epic, and now you don't race as much anymore. Maybe your family's getting old, you don't have as much time to go race, and you're wondering to yourself, man, why do I keep riding this crappy race bike all the time? That's not that fun to ride. Well, this is going to give you a lot of that same stuff, that real hammer on the pedals, put your head down and just suffer feel, and it will reward you, and it will really move up the trail faster than like something like the Pivot Switchblade. You know, but it will descend more like the Switchblade compared to that race bike. So I hope I've made that clear of who I think that this bike is for. This bike would probably be okay on any of the trails I ride here in Utah. It certainly would be just great on the days I ride every day, the trails I ride every day here in Corner Canyon, the trails that you see in my videos. It's just a really cool bike. I'm gonna spend more time on it and compare it to my Ripley more and see what I think. But again, there's a link in the description down below. Also, I linked in the description down below all the stuff that I wear. I just got these new Fox knee pads. I've been wearing the Troy Lee Design Speed Sleeve knee pads for the last 4 years. And I just now have about 20 or 25 rides with this. And man, I gotta say, I'm pretty stoked on these knee pads. So there's a link to that as well in the description down below. Anything that you purchase using those links to Competitive Cyclists directly goes to supporting me and my channel and what I'm doing here, so I can keep making cool videos like this and get out and ride new bikes. So thanks for the support. I appreciate everyone who's been subscribed for over 3 years now and supporting the channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Subscribe and stick around. I try to ride a ton of the same, a ton of bikes on the same trails. And I think that's pretty valuable to really get that, you know, that same trail experience on different bikes. And I'm gonna do a head-to-head on this with the Ripley also, and really compare it to the Ripley so you guys can have a better understanding, because I love that Ibis Ripley. It's just an unbelievable bike, and I think this is just all there. Thanks to Chris at Salt Cycles for the support. And man, they're an Ibis dealer, Yeti, Pivot, Cannondale, Transition, obviously. And get up to Salt Cycles, talk to Chris. He can customize the bike for you too. So if you don't like everything that comes on that $6,000 build that I've got today, you can change up a few things. Maybe you want XTR 4-piston brakes, or maybe you want a different wheel set, or maybe you want Shimano drivetrain where they only offer the X01 SRAM drive. Maybe you want XT drivetrain. Chris is more than happy to swap out parts for you, and that's a good reason to shop at your local bike shop here in Sandy, Utah. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope it was a useful video for you. If you have any questions, put it in the comment section down below. We're not going to have a live stream after this video. I don't have time this week to do that. But you know, maybe we'll do a live stream after the Ripley and Transition Spur head-to-head video. Maybe that's a good time to do that. So thanks for watching, guys. It's a great time to be a mountain biker. Get out there, exercise, have fun with your friends, enjoy mountain biking, get in the greater outdoors. How do you beat it? September 2020, you know, life's good. Nice.